surrounded or there's somebody around you that is critical? Do you roll your eyes? Do you want to flee? Or do you feed into it and find yourself being drawn to that? Or do you step back and say, I wonder if I'm seeing in them who I are, who I am, who I are, who I are, who I am. And so what we're going to be talking about today is how we can switch from being critical to being curious. If you are ready for that shift and how you can do it, then you're in the right place. Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I'm a certified life coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. So today, if this is your first time coming into the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Well, today, as I mentioned to you, we're going to really look at the people who are critical in our life. Could that be you? Could that be me? Let's be curious about it. That's why we're going to be curious instead of critical. So here's what they say. And I really thought that this was something that the thought world, the people that are coaches and that are evolved and came up with this, which is you see in others who you are. But no, no, no. That was not created by anyone in today, now in age, in the new age or whatever world. No, no, no. It is in Romans 2, verse 1. Let me tell you what it says. Romans 2, verse 1. I'm going to read it, okay? So I'm going to look away for a little bit. So this is from the NIV Bible. Therefore, you therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same thing. That was in the Bible, in Romans. So nothing I'm about to tell you is new, but perhaps this is the first time you're hearing it. Perhaps there's someone in your life that is constantly criticizing you. But today, instead of looking at them, we're going to look at ourselves. We're going to look at the times that we are critical. And I know that because I have a standard where I call excellence, because I have that standard, somebody might think of myself as critical. And that could be their perspective, and that could be true. But I also see people who are critical as well. So it goes both ways. So when I find somebody that has high standards or things like that, I don't take it personally, which we're going to be talking about the 4 Agreements, the book that was written by Don Miguel Ruiz. I've interviewed his son, Don Miguel Jr., Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and it's wonderful to kind of like know that even though you cannot change anybody else, that when you change yourself, you truly change the world. I have so many people with big dreams that come to me because they want me to coach them. As a matter of fact, I will be with a group of etiquette experts, and I'm going to be working with them because my talk is about getting unstuck. And the reality is that sometimes we can get so stuck looking at what somebody else's behavior is like that we fall and fail to see the behavior in us. What we see in others is who we are. Romans 2, verse 1. Right there in the first boom, it hits you in the face. And how many times I've read the entire Bible. I've studied for Bible. I'm in my second time go around of a 7 years of Bible study fellowship. I read the Bible. That Romans 2:1 has hit me so big this year. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So how many times have you seen someone in your life that rubs you, that pokes you in the eye, that maybe causes you to question yourself as to, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? I don't know. What is wrong with me? Because that other person is making me feel bad about myself. Again, I say, no, no, no. No one can steal your joy. You can give it away, but that has nothing to do with the other person. You're creating that and you're giving it away. So I want to dispel those two myths. First of all, if there's someone critical around you, you may not be able to change the way they are. You can ask them respectfully if they can abstain or refrain from their judgment. And maybe that's a whole totally different story or show, but maybe it's something that you call me and say, hey, Lily, I need some coaching. I want to talk to this person about how they make me feel. And again, I'll say to you, I can only help whoever shows up today. So if you're watching this video today, then perhaps you are the one that needs to hear this just as well as I need to hear it. We all get to hear this information and be curious as to who is the critical person. Yes, they may be critical, but we see in others who we are. So I can only help those who help themselves. I can only help bring this to your attention so that when somebody is being critical of you, you can just stop and go, oh, wait a minute. They're showing themselves up as my teacher. I am learning from them. And you can learn how to be and how not to be. Now, how many critical people, like I have heard people say, I am always criticized. Always criticized. Could that possibly mean that the way you're hearing things are being interpreted as such that you are taking it personally? So let me share the 4 agreements with you and I suggest that you read this book. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Again, I've done, I think 4 or 5 shows with Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. It's been a while since Miguel has been in the classroom. But this is one of the reasons I reached out to them, because I loved this book. So if you haven't read it, or if you bought it because you heard me talk about it before, but it's still brush the dust off of it, it's time to pick it up again, and this time actually read it. So here are the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. In other words, say what you mean and do what you say. Be who you say you are. Be impeccable with your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't just say you're going to do it with no intention of doing it, because that is not being genuine. That is just being in your ego, wanting to look good. Okay, that's number 1. The second one is, do not take anything personally. Don't take anything personal. That's number 2. And that is part of receiving the criticism, because you know what? Those people and everybody who is critical is not just being critical of you, they're being critical of themselves. So understand, this isn't about you. This is about them. So be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personal. Number 3, don't make assumptions. They all fit in. Could they be talking about you? If somebody's talking and being grandiose about themselves, you can be judgmental of them, saying, oh, they think they're all that. But the reality is, you're interpreting. That person may be thinking they're being humble. Bottom line is, it really doesn't matter. Don't make any assumptions. They're just saying what they say. Now, there are people that can be arrogant and boastful. But again, when you catch it, just know that they are being a teacher, a reflection, a mirror of what you need to learn about them. Wow, I don't want to be that way. So I am going to be very careful the next time I talk about what I am doing, what I'm not doing, especially when someone I'm talking to is down on their luck. Got to be careful about that too. When I was younger, I didn't realize those things. And if I said about my good fortune or whatever, I don't want to turn off my light for people that are in darkness, but I don't also want to shine a light on someone who's now feeling a certain way. Maybe it's not a good day for them. So be aware, but again, don't make assumptions that everything is good with the other person either. And always do your best. Number 4, always do your best. I'm going to go over these again. So be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Do not make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best. So when you start thinking about those things as you're being curious instead of critical, then you use those 4 agreements to stay neutral, to be grateful and to be hopeful and to be happy for the other person. So if somebody is critical and it triggers something in you, that means they're trying to teach you something about yourself, which is that perhaps there are times that you are critical too. And perhaps you've got to go back, and this is what the teacher does. They show you where you or I have been critical ourselves. Then we forgive ourselves for that, because that's the purpose of the person who is critical. It is for you, the listener, to say, okay, if I am seeing you, Romans 2, and I'm judging you as being critical, where have I been critical? Where do I have to forgive myself, or I get to forgive myself for being critical, so that I don't even hear it anymore? If somebody is being critical, then it goes through our filters when we have forgiven that within ourselves that is critical. So when I perceive someone who's critical, when I'm in my good state of mind, and when I am aware and conscious and not tired, and all those things that happen when you are at your highest, when you can be at your highest and you're at your best, and you can point, the person you're going to be around is a critical person. So you go through this filtering system and you go, okay, if I am hearing her, if she's doing this and she's being critical, you can ignore it. You can just say, this is about them. You can also pray for them. Pray for them, because a person who is critical criticizes themselves, and they don't want to look at themselves. So they want to just criticize the world because they see in others who they are. But you are more involved because you can translate it. It's just like yo hablando español todo el tiempo y tú no entiendes. And then all of a sudden you learn Spanish and you know exactly what I said. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Instead of hearing me speak in Spanish and go, oh, that's gibberish. For those of you who have learned Spanish or know Spanish, you know that I said something. And it doesn't bother you because you know what they're saying. So true is it when you hear somebody who's critical. The moment you stop rolling your eyes and feeling that, now keep in mind that I'm not talking about people who are abusive or people who are abusing you and being critical of you. There comes a time where you stop and say, no más, no more. Because you also, within that, teach others the way you want to be treated. So you can say something loving. If they're being critical of you, as opposed to critical about the situation, not happy about the situation, talking about somebody else, just know that they're giving you an insight to their soul, and use it to get to know them a little better. By using the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personal. Always do your best and don't make assumptions. Those 4 agreements are so important. Get the book if you haven't done so already. So it gives you an insight on that person. Now, if that person is turning their criticism on you, and every time you're with them, you feel that they're judging you or being critical of you, you can ask the question. You can be loving about it and say, you know, when you say that to me, I mean, you could say it hurts my feelings, but feelings are just feelings. You can say, I believe that you see me as not enough, but I know I'm enough. I know that I can figure this out. I know that even if my life is a little bit messy and you say something like that, then I take it personally and I break and violate my own agreement. So when you say something to the person and you hear it and you practice it, hear yourself speak. And as you speak, correct it within yourself. What is it that I believe about myself? Be curious instead of critical. So let me give you what's going on in the critical person's mind. They're constantly second guessing themselves. They're striving for perfection, and perfection is not obtainable. That's why I strive for excellence. Excellence is good enough. What is excellent for me may be different than excellent for you. So that's where you can have that conversation, you know? And if you're going to do something, do it your way. But if somebody else is doing it and they're in charge of it, and that's their idea of perfection, or that's the idea of excellence, you can have this dialogue and say, hey, how about if we do this or add that? There's so many different ways that you can discuss these feelings and emotions with someone you perceive as critical, because again, they're showing you times in your life that you have been critical too. What are those things that are happening in your heart? What are those things, past traumas that happened to you in the past, that are still filtering the way you hear things? So I'm going to go through the critical. Let me go through it really quick, because we all know what critical is. Critical is, right? Critical, when you see somebody critical, it's so easy for you to spot it. So this is what's going on. They don't enjoy anything because they're fearful of enjoying it. But what if something goes wrong when they're enjoying it? So critical people aren't enjoying things. Nothing is good enough for them. You can't take a compliment. If you say, oh, I really love your dress. Oh, this whole thing. No, these are critical people. They're criticizing themselves the whole time. You worry that if you stop putting yourself down, the world will fall apart. Is that an attribute that you have? That is certainly the attribute of a critical person. You're constantly frustrated. You're constantly irritated. For those of you, because I can honestly tell you, I am not a, what do you call those raging drivers? The people that get really upset, because I know that in my time of driving, I guess less than 50 years of driving, no, maybe 45 years of driving. So I'm trying to bring it down. In my 45 years of driving, I may have cut somebody off. I may have not been aware that somebody was coming at me. I may have not cut you off intentionally. And I would never do that intentionally. So just assume that the other person is the same way. Now, if they're flipping you off and cutting you off, that's a different thing. That's driving with rage. That's a rage maniac. But I am constantly giving people that, I mean, especially when I don't even know them, I can't judge it, because if I do, I am judging me. And I'm hoping that people will forgive me. And I'm truly want to forgive myself if I've hurt anybody, if I've cut somebody off, if I've done anything like that. So if you find yourself being irritated when you're driving, there is another conversation you need to have with yourself about being curious about why you are raging. When, I mean, I know people, the moment they get behind the wheel, it is like a Tasmanian devil takes the wheel, and they're like driving upset at the world. So they're constantly complaining, right? And they maybe give their opinions many times. Now, as a problem solver, I consider myself a problem solver. Sometimes I offer my opinion before somebody asks it. Dang it, because sometimes your strengths can be your weaknesses. That's something to look at and be curious to. My children have taught me how not to be when it comes to being, like overly expressing myself, to the point where I have to, can you imagine? Keep my mouth shut. Oh, wow. That is something I learned from my kids. Interesting. But when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and vice versa. So once you know that when you are complaining about somebody else, when you are criticizing about somebody else, then you are also judging and condemning yourself. So where do I need to forgive myself? That's the curious question to ask. That's the way you shift from being critical to curious, is asking the question, where have I done this myself? And do I need to forgive myself? And it's interesting that when you journal about this, when you write it down, when you do whatever it is that you need to do to start the process of being curious, it is amazing how those critical people go away, because you have figured out how to deal with it within yourself. And now when you hear it, you translate it to the language that you understand. No longer are you listening to Spanish when you don't even speak Spanish. You actually, all of a sudden, understand Spanish when you hear them speaking. I'm giving you an example. When somebody's being critical, that's like speaking Spanish when you're not a Spanish speaker. And when all of a sudden you go, oh, I understand, they're really talking about themselves. This isn't about me. I'm not going to assume this is about me. But they give you an insight to their soul. One of the reasons that I believe this is a very important topic, and one of the reasons why I'm very, very proud of our third workshop with Dr. Bradley Nelson, we're going to be doing the emotion code and the body code on November 3rd and 4th in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Now, I believe that all the VIPs, believe it or not, all the VIPs, unless there's been a last minute cancellation and I don't even know about it, but all the VIPs have been sold out. So if you want to attend this, you'll come as a regular guest, as a regular admission, which just means that you don't have the meet and greet dinner at the end of the day on Friday. But you're still going to enjoy everything, except you won't have certain things that the VIPs have. So front row seating, blah, blah, blah. So if there happens to be one VIP pass available and that is what you want, do it right away. But if you are wanting to learn how to tap into your subconscious mind without all the emotional drama and trauma, then this is the workshop for you. Because when you are in tune with your subconscious, you see, your subconscious mind is going around your brain and your mind all the time. You've heard me give you the statistics. 90% of what we think is repetitive, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. So it's no wonder that we tend to go by that negative Nelly. Now, if your name is Nelly, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to call you a negative Nelly, but that is the saying. So when you start thinking about how can I tap into that, release it without going, oh my God, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, this is so painful. No, it is tapping into the subconscious mind that you don't even know is dealing with this, that it's filtering everything you see. And instead of being curious, you're spending your time being critical. So if you're the receiver of it and you're identifying it, you still need to do the work so that when you hear that person again, after you're done with the work, it doesn't bother you as much. You realize that this is not about you. This is about them. Again, so I want to make sure that you know that it's around the corner, November 3rd and 4th. So check out the website. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Check out the website. There's a pop-up. Click on it and just decide whether or not you would like to be a part of this. Learn how to do it on yourself. Learn how to do it on your children. Learn how to do it with your friends. Become certified. There's so many different ways that you can attend this event and really get the most out of it. I am so looking forward to it. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please subscribe to my website. Like and follow me on social media. We're getting to this point in life that, you know, we're going to figure out how we can say whatever we want to say and you have access to it. So please know that once we make that transition, you need to be subscribed to the channel because that's the only way we'll have your information, that we'll be able to send you emails and let you know what's going on. So when you subscribe to the channel, you will have the blogs. You'll know who's in the classroom before anybody else does. You'll have all their contact information. You'll be able to get the audio version of the classroom sent right to your email so that you can just click it and listen. And you could listen to it also in all podcasts, but this is just a little bit easier for you. And you can decide if that's what you want by establishing what your settings are. So while you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, please check out my sponsors. Support my sponsors the way they are supporting the classroom. Check my Shop Now bag. Check out the products that also some of them are affiliate products that I use, that I absolutely love from head to toe, even pain management. And so check those out. You can also check on the top. There's something called workshops. Do it yourself. Be a self-cleaning oven. So do it yourself workshops that you can just go in and pretend like you're going through it the first time with us. So there's so many different ways that you can learn and grow with me. Also, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. We need your help. We have got to figure out another way to bring the classroom to you without it being blocked or censored or being deemed harmful information. As you know, everything we teach in the classroom has been tested and verified. And I also ask you to do your own homework so that you're not repeating what anybody on the mainstream media or social media says. You learn about it and make it your truth if that's the conclusion you reach. And so you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, and whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation, we need your support. So whether, like I said, I don't care the amount, just make a commitment. If it's a one-time thing or a recurring, then you can decide that as well. But you can also share this video, and that is another way that you can give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Today, I'm talking to you about being curious instead of critical. It's really easy to see fault and have fault in other people. But remember, those are our teachers. They're teaching us how to be and how not to be. The moment you identify it, that's the curious part. That's when you say, that's what Lily said. That's what she meant. I am aware of their criticism. Therefore, I need to be aware of my criticism and maybe even forgive myself for having criticized someone else, myself, my spouse. And I just had a conversation with somebody about this. I was saying something, but they were hearing criticism. I was saying something, it was an observation, and they were taking it personally as as a criticism to them, and it was making them feel bad. But once we started talking about it and they heard what my intention was, and it was way off than what they were experiencing, what they were thinking. Again, it was what was in them, which was not enoughness. I am not good enough. And when you start falling into the trap of feeling criticized, that's the trap that you're falling into. So how can we shift it? Because I want to spend more time talking about shifting to being curious as opposed to critical. So know that people who are curious love to learn. They look at something, if they don't know what they're saying, instead of going, man, I'm stupid, instead of saying that to yourself, then just say, wow, I'm looking forward to learning about this. So you want to be an avid learner. Learn as much as you can without thinking that you know it all. Because the moment you know it all, guess what? It's time to die. Because we're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving. And so knowing that when you are challenged, just take it as, oh, an opportunity to learn and grow. Some people don't like to learn. I heard that too. Don't use the word learn. I've been advised by the people that are trying to get the classroom out of, being shadow banned. But you know what? God is so good that God is bigger than the shadow banners, right? So God will make sure that those who have ears will hear. And I just release that to a much higher power. But I will tell you that when you love to learn and you don't feel like you have to know it all, then that's when you can start being curious. When you love to solve problems, instead of going, oh man, here you go again, how can we solve this together? How can we have a conversation where you and I can reach win-win? Especially if I'm feeling criticized, is it true? Is it true that I do this? Wow. Maybe it's an observation, and that observation isn't really criticism. Maybe you asked them for feedback and they gave it to you, and it was taken as criticism. Again, that's on you. So that's when you get to sit with and go, where can I be curious about this? Where is it? What's going on? Once again, the Emotion Code Body Code 2-day seminar. Come check it out. Okay. Questions don't scare you. So many people are fearful that they're going to be found out to be a fraud. But the reality is, that's your belief. And if you believe that someone's going to find you a fraud, then you need to sit with and be curious as to, why do you believe that about yourself? Is it true? Chances are it is not. But if it is true that you feel like a fraud because it's a feeling, not the truth, then I would say to you, it's time to look at what you were told, what you believed as a child about yourself. As you know, I've told you many times that when I was 7 years old, second grade, by the way, I just want to put the perspective. My teacher said I would never amount to much. When I was 8 or 9 years old, my paternal grandmother, and I know neither one of them intended to be damaging of my spirit. They wanted to motivate me. When my grandmother said, Lily, I heard you didn't want to play the piano anymore. No, abuela, I don't want to play the piano. because the teacher was really mean to me. And that's another story. And you could probably find it in any coaching one that I've done. And she said to me, well, Lily, if you stop learning how to play the piano, I will stop loving you. So I made up about myself that I was unlovable. And whenever I chose someone that for a date or a partner or whatever, they made me feel unlovable. It is a contract that I made with my grandmother, a subconscious contract to make her right about myself being unlovable. Now, she didn't call me unlovable. I made that up. But you see, that's what I'm talking about. Be curious about it so that you can work with yourself or a coach, someone that can help you go there with curiosity, as opposed to making yourself feel worse about yourself. I was able to release it because I understood what it was all about. And I still sometimes have to rewrite that program in my head. Oh, they're rejecting me. Therefore, I'm unlovable. No, that's not true. I am very lovable. And then you go through this process, and little by little, it's easier to get back on track to knowing who you are. When you hear somebody talking critical about somebody else, you learn how to change the subject. Instead of confronting them and saying, you're just so critical, you can say, hey, how about what's happening in Saudi Arabia, or what's happening with in the latest show that's our favorite show together? Whatever you have in common with that person, have about 5 questions already prepared when they start being critical, that you change the subject. And by the way, it goes both ways. So if you're the critical person, if you find somebody changing the subject 5 times, they've been listening to the classroom, and you're the one that needs to learn how to embrace a more curious way about you, a way of being. Question everything. Just be okay with questioning, and be okay with questioning everything. It's okay. And if somebody is upset that you're questioning too much, that's their problem. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to feel less about it. Just ask the questions that you want to ask. And if they are critical about it, say, hey, that's how I learn. I like to ask questions. You roll up your sleeves. That's another attribute, rolling up your sleeves and doing whatever it takes. No job is too menial for someone who's curious. I remember one of my favorite jobs, for those of you who know what Crucio is, for all my Catholic friends, or my, I think it's called the Road to Emmaus, or Tres Dias. There's a team that is behind the scene. Nobody knows who this team is. You're not seen. You're just doing random act of kindness. You're fixing beds and cleaning things and putting mints and doing all this stuff, making dinners, making sure that the person is being taken care of, and they have no clue what you're doing. They just show up and everything is all made. They just show up and something is different and new and kind. There's a flower on their bed. There's a gift on their bed. And as part of that team, I'm telling you, and I could still just take myself to that moment and just get so emotional of when I washed their feet. I washed their feet. And that was the job of a servant. Yet Jesus took that job, and I loved it. That is being curious and seeing that the last will become first, the least will become greater. But it's an attitude and it's an attribute that you get to bring, that you get to share when you are curious. You're self-motivated. I'm just looking at the ones that I wrote down. You keep it positive. You're neutral. And I know somebody in my life, and I've worked on this myself, because I know it's something that the people I know, there are people that I know in my life that do the devil's advocate thing. Like if you say something, they don't take your side, they take the other person's side because they're being the devil's advocate. If you have someone like that in your life, just know that you got to deal with that yourself. You just got to work on it yourself and know that that is what they do. It's not that they're being critical of you. They want to be right about having this open mind. And that's fine. You have to be okay with them doing that. Or you can say, hey, listen, I need some compassion right now. I don't need for you to point or be devil's advocate. You can just lovingly say that. If that's what you need, speak up and say what you need. That's part of being curious, is speaking your truth and being kind about it. To say, there's something about what you just said that sounds very similar to a devil's advocate. And right now, I just need compassion from you. Okay, you've asked for what you wanted. If they choose not to do it, that's fine too. Change the subject 5 times. Have 5 different topics that you can change the subject. Don't engage them to be right, because the moment you engage them and you're critical of them, they're going to come on stronger. Trust me, I've lived this. I understand it. Sometimes you just got to let it go and just rewrite the story in your mind that that's just who they are. It's not about you. It's about them. Let love be the center of everything that you do. And if anybody ever accuses you of being critical, then you can say, but wait a minute, let me ask you, and I'm just being curious here. My intention is to be loving, and this is what I mean by being loving. I thought I was helping, but if you think that I'm being critical, I apologize for that. That was not my intention. See, you can have these conversations and it not turn into, oh, there it goes again, big old drawn out fight. Just know that the teacher is presenting themselves so that you can forgive yourself if that's what you need to do, or that you can become aware that that is how the other person operates, instead of taking it personally or making assumptions. And those are 2 of the things from the 4 agreements. And the other 2 are do your best and be impeccable with your word. See, it's all about how you interpret it, how you process it, how you rewrite the story. How you rewrite the story. And by the way, pretty soon, there is a song called Rewrite Your Story. And Bailey is coming on into the classroom, and we're going to be talking about that together. I'm really excited about that, because we do get to rewrite the programming. What we believe is our flaws that we don't want anybody to see, and we're trying to cover them up. Everybody sees them and nobody cares. And if they care, you're the one that needs to work on it, not them. You're the only one. So being critical is a level of not enoughness. It's saying, I am not enough, so I need to control my environment to be perfect because I am not perfect. See, perfection is an illusion. And if you're a perfectionist, you will never achieve that. That's why I've shifted to excellence, because I think that I had the makings of perfectionist, and some people think I'm a perfectionist. I know what I want. And if I'm paying for something, I'm going to tell you what I want, and I'll do it kindly or in a dialogue. But if you are harboring it and you're hearing, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm ugly, then you're the one that has the problem. A conversation, say, you know, when you say it this way, it really makes me feel this way. Oh, again, intention. When you are creating something and it is your brand that you're creating, then you get to choose what you want, right? So I want to encourage you to speak your truth without being confrontational, without taking it personally. Just say it as you believe. Now, being curious is all about love. Ta-da, ta-da. About love, about self-love, about being able to say, I know I am not perfect. I know I am flawed, but God loves me anyway. I love me anyway. I love me enough that if you don't love me, I am still happy. Yeah, I might go through a little pity party. I might go, "Wah," the person doesn't like me the way I am. They want to change me. They want to do it. You know what? Just keep showing up. Be who you say you are. Just keep showing up with a light that shines in you. Because sometimes when you have a big light that shines out of you, the people who like to live in darkness do not like being shined upon. So turn around, pick new friends, find new friends, find people that love your light, that embrace your light, that also have light, that also are lighthouses. See, a lighthouse doesn't apologize for being a lighthouse. It points and it guides the ships in the harbor to come in safely. And if somebody is annoyed by that, then they have the problem. And you just have to rewrite the program in your head. The lighthouse can be a candle. You can turn into a candle, but then you will resent the heck out of everybody who wants to make you into a candle. Do it anyway. Be the lighthouse anyway. And be that guide. I have to tell you, I have been studying John, the book of John. And the first 3 chapters, 3 or 4, because I'm on the 3rd chapter. Again, this will be my 2nd time around doing a Bible study fellowship. So we just started 3 weeks ago. So now we're on the 3rd lesson, which was 2nd chapter in John. And I have been so in awe of John the Baptist. John the Baptist pointed the way. He wasn't the way. He knew without a doubt who was the way. And he had followers. He had followers. And the moment he recognized the Messiah, he said, that's him. It's not me. That's him. And his disciples, the people that were following John the Baptist, just said, see ya, I'm going to follow Jesus. And the truth is for all of us, we cannot be taking it personally when we're pointing people to the way, to a new truth, and all of a sudden they either go, see ya, I've got a new truth, or I appreciate you, I'm going to stay with you, but I'm also going to add this other modality, friend, whatever it is, because I can love both. But with John the Baptist, he was very clear, and his ministry didn't last very long after that. So it was good that he pointed the way. I don't know how long I will be doing this. And when I say this, the classroom, I don't. We need your help. We need your support. And I have been doing this for free. I pay people to help me. I don't make a penny. And so I need your help. And so I am not telling you that I am the truth or that I have the truth. I am pointing you to new truths. You get to discern, just like his disciples discerned that that was the truth. And that made them, they made it their truth. They followed and they understood and they changed their life. They walked away from all of that. They walked away from their families, from their careers. They walked away from that. Now, I am not the Messiah. I know that. But I also know truths about health and wellness and the mind and the body and the spirit. I know these truths, and I am pointing you towards those truths. And I really need to have the focus of John the Baptist. So whether the algorithms are giving me an extra like or an extra or lying about who's viewing and who's not viewing, I need to be focused about what God has called me to do. And by the way, for those of you who have been hungry ever since Dr. Day, as you know, Dr. Day has stepped away from doing her Bible studies. And I wanted to share that we still have the DVDs. I don't talk about it very often, but we do have the Book of Revelation DVD and online as well. And we have the 100 lessons from the Exodus. They start off as 50, but so ambitious as she is, Dr. Lorraine Day. So we've been having a lot of people contact us because they want to be in the Word of God. They want to do something to feed their spirit. And so I am doing something. That's why I joined Bible Study Fellowship. And, you can join too at any time. Just look it up in your area. See if there's a BSF near you. Now, I'm not getting paid for mentioning it, but that is where I'm going, to be in the Word and start learning some truths so that when the teacher arrives, I will be able to follow because I know the truth. And so being curious has to do with seeing ourselves with the way that God sees us, with the love of others, love of self, so that we can say, you know what? I get to sit with this. I get to explore not just why their criticism is affecting me, but where have I been critical? Where can I change that about me? How can I be that light, that lighthouse that doesn't apologize for being light and bringing this light and helping others come safely into the harbor of their life? And if you don't like someone because they have a light, then you get to sit with your darkness. You get to sit and say, why? I've got the power to have that light too. Everybody has that light. What can I do to share that light with you and others? What can I do? How can I be what God has called me to be? How can I be who I say I am and not be so focused on not wanting to be a fraud? I don't want anybody to see that I might be a fraud. The reality is that's your thoughts. Those are your beliefs, not mine. Not anymore. There was a time that maybe I did have them. And there are times that maybe when I'm at my weakest time, I might experience them. But once again, you go, I need to be curious. And I need to sit with myself and discover, what is it about that person that I don't like? What is it about me that I'm afraid people will find me a fraud? What is it? And sit with it and turn it around. Create the life that you want. Be who you say you are. That is my favorite quote from Deacon Al Castellana. And when he passed away, I'm telling you, I heard that time and time again. Be who you say. I learned from Deacon Al, be who you say you are. And I tell you what, I heard him loud and clear. And what you see is what you get. And when I tell you, it comes from humility. It comes from a knowing that God gives me what I need at the moment I need it. Nothing more, nothing less. You have that power too. Tap into it. Learn about it. Join a Bible study. Get Dr. Day's Bible studies. You can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and look at them. You can come to the Emotion Code Body Code on November 3rd and 4th. What will you do to be curious instead of critical. Time to sit with it. And please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert